Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting as well, just to see what the Mage deck comes out with. But never mind, I'll talk about Mage later on, mainly because this is going to be a Hunter mirror match. Are there any massive differences between these decks? Because I'm kind of with you on this one, Saul. All the decks we saw leading up to this point were mainly Mech Hunter variants of aggro or late game. You know, maybe even some Spell Hunters in there with like Malygos as well. But just mid-range Beast Hunter, who would have thunk it? Master's Call is a good card.
It is, and there are some quite significant differences in between the two decks. Bunnyhoppor is playing double tracking to BloodTrail's 1. He's also playing double Dire Frenzy to BloodTrail's 1. He also has a Witchwood Grizzly in there, which BloodTrail is not running. He's running a kind of a Wing Blast in that spot. Both playing one Tundra Rhino. So they're kind of back and forth in terms of which spots they want to sacrifice against aggro and which they want to have brought in there against control. Because Bunnyhopper's Witchwood Grizzly is definitely a nod towards some of the aggro matchups, but at the same time, Bunnyhoppor is playing the double Dire Frenzy, which is a big tech for the heavy control matchups, whereas BloodTrail's only playing one. So they both have kind of their strengths and weaknesses against both kind of archetypes, and it's really going to be about kind of early curve here, and if the other player can stabilize and then look to that Master's Call to try and bring them some gas in the mid to late game.
Yeah, and with such a short time to work out what list that you actually want to bring for these players, I think we'll be talking about this a lot for the next few days, is although players may have brought the same archetypes across some lineups, the actual card choices within those decks are wildly different.
Right.
We see so many different builds of these as we kick off game number 2 here. Just nice little links dropping down onto the board there for Bunnyhoppor, again, just to get the minion down, maybe to proc this Headhunter Hatchet.
BloodTrail is going to have to face facts and play from behind for a little bit here. He does have that Master's Call to fall back on very soon, which he might have to do sooner rather than later, because the rest of his hand, Kill Command, Zul'jin, really not going to be doing anything for him in this matchup.
Yeah, this Headhunter actually is going to be pretty huge. He can use it to clear off this 1-1, and most importantly, next turn, if Bunnyhoppor so chooses, he can at least drop 2 other 1-1s onto the board in form of the Timberwolf and the Lynx to give him the highest likelihood of just dropping Dire Frenzy on something, not so much just for the bigger minions in the deck, but for the bigger minion on the board, and it might just be what's needed to stay ahead here.
Yeah, using Dire Frenzy as a Blessing of Kings, essentially, in the position that he's in. It might turn out that kind of line just walks into BloodTrail's slow hand, because he'll be able to get like potentially a nice kill command off in that position if Dire Frenzy does come down on a 1-1. So we'll see if what Bunnyhoppor's next couple of draws are, because with the hand he has, it's really hard for him to get away from that line. It's kind of all he has available to him. But he might be starting to develop a read based on 3 cards on the far left, which were mulliganed into, none of them were kept, and then none of them have been touched throughout the opening turns, that they are kind of the more situational cards, right? The kill commands, the wing blasts, some of those cards that we talked about. So he might actually, Bunnyhoppor, very smart player, very adept hand reader, we might see him just divert away from that kind of Dire Frenzy plan, because we saw him, as much as, you know, he did have a little bit of a mess towards the end in that last matchup, we did see him very expertly playing around Unleash the Hounds, right? Through his Grim Rally turn and the Explosive Trap turn, he made sure that all of his 1 health minions were dying, and he just ended up with a board of 3 big chunky mid-range minions, because I think he had a hand read against Unleash the Hounds from BloodTrail. So we'll see if Bunnyhoppor can put himself in a similar position now against the kill command hand from BloodTrail.
Yeah, we see the power of Master's Call as well. Just suddenly BloodTrail's hand looks so much better next turn than it would have done without drawing those 3 beasts. And just a small nod as well, that Henchclan Hogsteed is a card I feel like we're only going to see more and more of. As just a 2-mana 2-1 rush minion that leaves a 1-1 Murloc behind afterwards. Just very reminiscent of Argent Horse Rider, which was a very, very powerful card and popular card in its rotation.
Yeah, I can see that comparison.
The 1-1 acting like a Divine Shield to a certain extent.
Bunnyhoppor here, after much deliberation, chooses to hold back. The Timberwolf doesn't want to fully develop into this board state. Does mean if he needs to play removal on the following turn, he does have an activated kill command if his board gets swept away. That seems unlikely based on what mid-range Hunter can do coming back at you the other way. And now BloodTrail has been able to swing the board with these 2 Springpaws. Springpaw and Lynx, I should say, for the pedants out there.
I do feel like, funnily enough, Hunter at the moment has just become a wet noodle fight. It's just 1-1s into 1-1s into clearing 1-1s up with 2 weapon attacks. It's very strange, isn't it, early game? Hunter used to snowball Sol back in my day.
Well, I mean, it still kind of does. That's the problem, right? Is if you don't just sit there and trade your spring paws back and forth in the early game, if you let your opponent just have a couple of 1-1s, it does snowball. You explode. They play a Timberwolf and a Dire Frenzy, and suddenly they're pushing 8-10 damage in a turn. You're just on miles on the back foot.
I love the way it snowballs by playing another 1-1.
I mean, look at him. He's a good boy. That is a heck of a 1-1 down there. They have 6 other minions. That's immediately a 7-1. With 6 points of charge. So this is why you immediately get into this nonsense when people say, oh, it drives me insane. Harvest Golem's a 4-4. No, it's just not, is it?
Sol hitting you with the hard, cold logic. It is, in fact, not a 4-4.
But both players kind of struggling with some hand woes here. To say early skirmishes of these mid-range Hunter games haven't been massively impressed so far. It does seem just a little bit clunky in terms of how it gets going in the early game. But BloodTrail here now does have the option to start doing something pretty explosive. This Scavenging Hyena come down, you know, if you remember this, basically the equivalent deck from the previous metagame, these big Scavenging Hyena turns were really one of the massive breakpoints of the deck.
Yeah, and I really like this because this pretty much just says, okay, Bunnyhoppor, you need to remove this Hyena. If you do, that's unfortunate, but you will spend most of your mana removing in almost every scenario. And then if you remove it, well, I'll just play more stuff, and then you have to keep removing. So suddenly BloodTrail is ahead on the board. We see that cute little Murloc there, just making this deadly shot not quite as straightforward as Bunnyhoppor would like it to be. But also just this Rat Trap and then suddenly the Tundra Rhino and double kill command. BloodTrail will quickly lead into the spot that you get in Hunter Mirrors where you go, oh, I've actually dealt so much like just chip damage to my opponent that I'll just keep going face now because I have 2 kill commands and my opponent probably doesn't.
Right. A lot of decisions this turn, honestly, for Bunnyhoppor. It looks, if he's leading with this attack, it looks likely that he's going with the Deadly Shot instead of the Kill Command. He could have chosen to go with the Kill Command there, which does reduce his damage output a little bit, but it gives him a more flexible removal against, say, like a Tempo Tundra Rhino or something like that that's dropped on the board if he doesn't have a beast to activate his Kill Command. And then the follow-up decision was whether or not to play a Shimmerfly there, which I like Bunnyhopper's decision just to go with the hero power, because right now he is gassed out. He has nothing to do next turn. So in an emergency, he now gives himself the worst case scenario of just Shimmerfly Dire Frenzy, just to develop a board and shuffle some decently powerful draws back into his deck for later turns. Whereas if he exposes the Shimmerfly to the board and it then gets cleared from BloodTrail, he can just draw air off the top next turn and have absolutely nothing to do next turn.
Right. It's definitely one of the worst minions, I would say, to put Dire Frenzy on, but it's better than 0 minions.
It's better than 6 mana pass.
Yeah, what do you think about this turn from BloodTrail, though? Because in his spot, after seeing Deadly Shot, I almost certainly would have just played Tundra Rhino and said, okay, my hand's not the best Tundra Rhino hand in the world, but it is a threat that my opponent, generally shouldn't be able to deal with.
Sure.
Just went for the slightly slower play, though, just with getting the weapon equipped and getting the Hogsteed on the board. Just feels like slightly less of a threat because next turn, if he'd played Rhino, he could have gone Hogsteed, Weapon, Rat Trap very smoothly. Looks like he's going to go for it. Just needs something on the board that will either make BloodTrail lose his minions, but most importantly, just give Bunnyhoppor something to do. Because again, a lonely Timberwolf is not really going to get the job done.
Second Hatchet, not really going to get the job done either for BloodTrail. Looking at these deck lists, 2 animal companions that neither player is really drawing. It could make things a little bit smoother. Bunnyhoppor, also BloodTrail has had access to his Spring Paws. Bunnyhopper's found his Shimmerflies. But there's not a great deal of early game minions in there. BloodTrail does have those extra Henchman Hogsteeds, which have been massive for him. They're probably a big reason why he's just slightly ahead on the board right now. Bunnyhoppor in their place has a lot of those tech cards I talked about earlier, but also a single copy of Vicious Scalehide that's in there as well. But you have to say, not the smoothest early game curve. You'd expect a fair amount of games to look like this, right? Even if you get the Masters call, it's not an infinite supply of plays. You're going to be drawing a lot of the time just 5 to 6 mana's worth of stuff on average to be able to play out.
Yeah, and the biggest thing though, really, especially in this matchup, is the Headhunter Hatchet does so well against the early game of Hunter that they just cancel each other out so hard because that 3 charges on that weapon is so like deals with so many waves of minions that you have to do something pretty big to stop it, basically. Oh, I love it. I love it when you just hit the point of like, okay, I think I can kill him before he kills me if we both rush face, and if my opponent trades, well, that just gives me more time to kill him. So I actually love this turn from Bunnyhoppor.
I like it too, but really just because he doesn't have other options based on what his hand is telling him to do.
Sometimes you have to just play to your hand.
Yep. I think that's exactly what Bunny's doing.
Big card we've not talked about yet, though, that would be extremely swingy is the Unleash the Beast, one of the new cards. It's basically 6 mana summons a 5/5 beast with Rush, and it's also a twin spell, which puts another copy in hand.
What is this?
And no, for those of you who not played any Hunter, Dire Frenzy does not say, you know, shuffle the minions to the top of your deck. It says shuffle them in randomly, and randomly Bunnyhoppor's ripping them off the top.
I mean, as amusing as it is, it's not even really what Bunnyhoppor wants to be drawing right now. He wants to be drawing damage because you kind of look like this game has split off in divergent paths very, very clearly. Bunnyhoppor just pointed his kill command at his opponent's face. On the 2 turns either side of that action from Bunnyhoppor, BloodTrail has used his kill commands for board control. And because of that, BloodTrail is now slightly behind on life total, but he's threatening a huge amount of damage just in board presence. And that's the danger in a Hunter mirror of flicking the switch too early and going for straight damage, is that you can just lose the race to minions.
The problem now is, maybe it's a problem, maybe it isn't, but Bunnyhoppor can bail out of that plan right now. He can he can kill Command the Leot, get the secret active, and as long as he can survive 1 more turn, which bear in mind is just the Hog Seed and you have a snipe, then he can play Zul'jin and think that will get him in the head.
He has 9 mana next turn. So he has to survive the next turn from his opponent and then the turn after that.
Yeah, the turn after that he can play Zul'jin.
Okay.
Is what I meant. It survives 1 turn with Zul'jinless.
Okay.
And then he can play Zul'jin to re-equip secrets, maybe kill command some minions. Deadly shots in the pool as well.
It's not doing anything in terms of gas for him though, really, is it? It's not pushing him forward towards winning the game unless he just rips both of the Zul'jin kill commands at his opponent's face.
Is that not what you do all the time?
Okay. Apparently not, no. Apparently I'm just not good at Zul'jin.
Look, just again, this hatchet alone is 6 damage. Oh, tracking could be big. Yeah, these Hunter decks are a whole lot of nothing, aren't they?
There is a lot of air in these decks.
There's not actually a lot of beef in the middle.
It feels like a deck of 2 halves, right? Where you have half of your deck is very powerful in one kind of matchup and half the deck is very powerful in the other. Because, for example, against Warrior, a lot of what you do doesn't matter until you get to the very late game and then you start Dire Frenzying your Tundra Rhino. And then it's very, very hard for Warrior to be able to keep up with that amount of burst damage coming at them. But, you know, those cards, like we've seen, Bunnyhoppor plays double Dire Frenzy. He's been trying to get good use out of that Dire Frenzy that was stuck in his hand pretty much this entire matchup. As it turns out, he immediately drew a bunch of 1-mana 4/4s as soon as he used it, which is way above average result from what he ended up doing. But on the surface, it should have been a fairly weak play for him because it's a fairly weak card in the matchup. And now, Bunny walking into Rat Trap, and he's just going to play the control game, taking that out with the kill command.
Yeah, there was enough, I think especially with this snipe, there was enough flexibility to actually just help out to get him there.
Yeah.
But like I said, Rat Trap, once that's proc, that's just 6 damage out of nowhere, and the kill command procer as well. Obviously the Hogsteed's there now, but still, it's just a lot of damage and one Bunnyhoppor could not deal with.
I would like to put my opponent at 5 or below this turn. Not only because of what we can see Bunnyhoppor is likely to do next turn. Essentially, you know, Zul'jin will then start casting Rod of Roasting, essentially, the infinite Pyroblast card. Just cast kill commands until someone dies. But also, BloodTrail himself has the opportunity to play Zul'jin next turn with kill commands in his spell pool as well. So I think pushing damage here on Bunnyhoppor can be huge for him.
So I think Animal Companion Explosive Trap Hero Power is the best.
I think find out what your animal companion is, and then play Thunderwire.
Okay. That's pretty good too.
Yep.
Mainly because as this is gonna put him down just to 3, but my thought process was it's the most stuff that Zul'jin will recast.
Here we go.
So there's Deadly Shot, and then there's about 18 kill commands, but worryingly so, there are Dire Frenzies, which can target your opponent's minions.
Yep, there it goes.
Uh-oh!
Dire Frenzy hits the Leok. He would have needed to Dire Frenzy one of the 1 health minions and then hit it with a kill command. That's basically his only out at that point.
A buffed kill command.
Yes, and that's very true as well, yeah.
Okay. Oh, 2 of those dogs aren't having any fun.
No.
Bunnyhoppor's face sums it up. Again on the dog. Hey!
Not quite what was planned.
Never forget, Bunnyhoppor takes the loss there as BloodTrail